Welcome everybody to Talking the Elite with the All Elite Zone podcast. Today I am joined by none other than the world's greatest fantasy booker, Aiden.
That's high praise.
Thanks for joining the show, my friend. Right? I love the Ghost shirt, by the way. One of my favorite bands.
Thank
So
you.
sweet.
You're the second person today to say that. I didn't know that so many people listen to Ghost. I love that band. I got to see them last year.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to it. Good stuff.
Sweet.
We got the Ghost Gang.
Yeah, I've seen them twice. They're great.
Oh, I'm jealous. I need to see
All
them
right,
again.
and then we are also joined professional podcaster. It's one that actually agreeing and communication. Please welcome Adam.
Well, I'm doing this because you're in and out again, man. You gotta get that internet fixed, like I said, Lane.
I'm in and out again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's fine right now.
I thought
but
I fixed it
Yeah, it's
today.
fine right now. It just was. Another good band you need to see is Ice Nine Kills. They are awesome live.
they've played in my area a few times.
They're on my bucket list for sure.
Well, I saw
And
them,
then, yeah.
Motionless in White and Black Veil Brides last year in Orlando. Yeah, with Atreyu.
Jealous.
Yeah, it was a good show.
Atreyu. We will be joined by Connor here in about 5 minutes or 10 minutes. He'll be running a little bit late, so he'll be on. So we'll save him for last. All right. So today's episode is going to be a historical one. So we are going to be talking about my opinion, the three royal families of wrestling. The reason why the Harts and a couple other families are not on this list is for a couple of reasons. These three have had the most talent that have been all blood related. This is coming from this, so we'll have the Rhodes, which Aiden will be taking a good chunk of that portion over, and then we'll be also talking about the Ortons, which will be Connors, and then Adam will be doing the I'm just going to call them the Samoan Dynasty because they have so many great talents from Samoa that are part of that family. So it's going to be like The Rock, the Usos, Yokozuna, even though it was funny that he was built as Japanese, but he's actually Samoan.
So crazy that WWE did that.
Yes. Like I said, it's one of those things that he played it well, though. He played a giant sumo wrestler that I would not want to face.
Yeah.
I don't know who I'd choose. Well, I'll ask Adam this question a little later, but I don't think I would want to either face Yokozuna or Rikishi. Like, if I was a wrestler, like, I just wouldn't want the stink face or that 500-pound frame from Yoko landing on top of me.
I know who from the Anoa'i family I wouldn't want to face.
Or the Wild Samoans, too. Those guys are psycho.
We're crazy, yeah.
All right. So, like I said, we are doing a little different of a podcast tonight. So let's kick it off with the Rhodes family. So the Rhodes, the three main really consist of is the great, Dusty Rhodes. You also have the current Royal Rumble winner and probably future world champion. He is also, TNT champion, Intercontinental champion, tag champion of Cody Rhodes. Then you also have his brother, Dustin. Now, Dustin has had some really fun characters over the year, anywhere from Gold Dust 7. So I'm excited to talk more in depth on Dustin's career as well. I know he was also Intercontinental champion, tag champion. Did I miss anything out, Aiden?
For Dustin, I can't think of anything.
Yeah. All right.
And
Cody,
TNT champion, getting himself booed out of AEW champion. That's
WWE is coming. Watch. I bet they'll turn on him as soon as he wins that belt.
We'll get into that, but
good. Sorry.
No, you go. Sorry.
Oh no. So with the Rhodes family, how much credit do you give Dusty Rhodes for not just getting his two sons into wrestling. But how many lives has he touched with being in that performance center? Do you think he was one of the most beneficiary talents that WWE and just the wrestling business had in general?
Oh yeah, that's like definitely the case with Dusty. He was like I can give anecdotal evidence, but obviously I was not there to actually witness everything. But you could see that with the Dusty Classic with tag team wrestling, it was him who said, "Hey, you two are to be each other's shadow," to FTR, to Dax and Cash, and then he also has Cody and Dustin, but he was in that performance center. He was a huge piece, and I think you could also just tell based on not only how much people are saying they respect him, but if you look at the quality of talent that were coming out of the PC while he was there, coach, like helping, like mentor, and you look at it now, it's drastically different. And I do wonder if that could be just his pure influence, because that's like the common denominator,
I think it's the hard part too with with what's been going on since fortunately Dusty's passing, because looking back at the talent that have specifically said that he was one of the best trainers besides FTR. You also had Alexa Bliss, Bailey, Enzo, Cat. You had Enzo and Big Cass. There was a lot of influence, especially when it came to promo work. And if you look at it too, like both Dustin and Cody are just spitting images of of their father in both different ways when it comes either characters or promos. For me, like I said, just looking at it now, like Dusty literally had probably one of the best bloods when it came to wrestling.
Oh yeah, Dusty, and you can see that everywhere. We still have the Dusty finish as not only a term in the wrestling world, but it's something that happens all the time. Think of an example of that would be when Eddie Kingston tapped Sammy out, but he wouldn't let go of the hold, so Sammy ended up winning that. That's still has a legacy in today's wrestling.
I mean, also you got to see over in the one promotion. I mean, they had the Dusty Rhodes Classic, tag team tournament. It just goes to show that Dusty Rhodes had a lasting impression on the wrestling business. The man's been was in it for so long, wrestling all these, these different promotions, mainly he was in Mid-South, for the majority of his career, and a little bit of NWA. But man, when he got to WWF, that's where, his career kind of skyrocketed, where people took notice of him, and now passing down to his two sons. I mean, they're kind of carrying the legacy of their father, regardless of what Cody Rhodes saying he doesn't want to be his father. He wants to be Cody.
That's the thing too. I think whether Cody likes it or not, he has a lot of influences with his promos that you can clearly hear his father just speaking, especially, just with his last couple promos on Raw, especially, the one after he won the Royal Rumble. Also, what I think is really cool too was when Cody won the NWA World Championship, when he won that, the belt that his father made, popular, made famous, and held for quite a good chunk of time. All right, so let's see. Another interesting thing is all three of them really have gone to some interesting lengths for the wrestling business. Would you say that's fair to say that they've done things that normal wrestler or fan probably wouldn't do?
Yeah, they definitely have. Not even just talking about the sheer amount of pints of bloodshed, and there has been a lot between all of them. I mean, you can just watch Double or Nothing 2016 for Dustin and Cody, and you can watch Dusty versus was it Dusty versus Ric Flair, and they had a cage match, I think, or was it against Tully Blanchard? And also,
yeah.
Oh, it was okay, yeah. And then also, like Mike Morris is saying, Road Warrior Hawk busted Dusty open. They really do give their bodies a lot to wrestling, and I think I don't know if Cody learned that through his father, thinking about like that burning table spot thinking about just him wrestling through his torn pec. They give up so much, and just you could say that about any wrestler though, because they really do just give up their health for the business. But Dustin is so old and he's been going at this for so long. He's given so much to the wrestling world between his wrestling school, between just the wisdom he gives to people backstage. And you could also say that for Dusty with how much wisdom he's given. And I do think that once Cody gets up there in age, because he's still only like 36, he's going to be that veteran presence. He's going to be wrestling until he's probably 50, being that person to guide others. But they go to insane lengths for the wrestling world.
Not only that, but I mean, you got to look at Dustin's personal life too. I mean, he had a lot of addictions. So he kind of put his body through that on top of going into the ring and putting his body through all that physicality. I mean, it's a wear and tear on someone's body. But the fact that he's still doing it now, he's kicked his addiction and now he's just performing. That just shows you the great lengths that he goes, that he shows the love for fans and the whole wrestling community, especially the boys in the back. So, I mean, and then, with Cody, like you said, he's still 36. He's still got a long career to give to pro wrestling, whether it's the long term in WWE or he goes somewhere else. Like, I mean, we've seen him. We've seen Cody after he left WWE the first time, touring New Japan, going to NWA, doing Ring of Honor. He was all over the place. He was kind of reinventing himself, like 24/7. So, I mean, he was in the ring the whole time. So right there, he never stopped. So he never gave his body a break. Dusty Rhodes was another one. I mean, Dusty Rhodes, for the size that man was, the physicality he puts himself through all his matches was pretty shocking. Especially some of those brutal ones, I mean, who can remember matches that he had with the cowbell hitting him in the head? Like, it's insane how much blood that all three of these guys bled, in the ring. So, I do think that, I mean, Dustin obviously is pretty much, but is done after this year. I mean, he said that I'm done. This is my last year, which means he can focus on his school and supporting his brother. So, and like we said, Cody's got a long road ahead to see where he goes.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I would love to just share my favorite funny story with Dustin. He was so committed to that Goldust character that he was going to get a boob job done and get fake boobs. You guys hear that one?
That was actually,
I haven't heard about that.
That I love that character. I'm sorry, but when you hear that Shattered Productions song hit and just see him come through the curtain, he does his little. Growing up, I was like, that's weird, but I like this character. He's bizarre, he's different, and. Obviously the Shattered Dreams nut kick in the corner was, oh my God, it was that's, I mean, it's classic Dustin. So, I mean,
and I think that's kind of one thing that it went through a lot of changes for sure with that Goldust character. We could do a whole podcast on Goldust and Dustin Rhodes in general, but looking at it, like if with the whole, like how it went from, rubbing against people and just getting really, back in a time when unfortunately, the LGBTQ community wasn't looked on with such a positive light in wrestling. And to see, kind of, those, things get, done during the Attitude Era, and then have him work his all the way up, and then have, probably the most realist moment with Goldust's character when he had, his tag team partner with his brother Cody. That first time, the Rhodes brothers, when they were tag teaming, in WWE, and to have that match, and then have those two go on to beat the Shield with their dad's last moment in WWE. For me, that was one of the most powerful moments with the father and the two sons.
Yeah, and
were you guys a fan? Yeah.
Oh, no, Ethan brought up, actually, I was just thinking about that match too, the Goldust Roddy Piper match. I believe that was WrestleMania 12. It was the backlot brawl that kind of started with like a car chase. Like,
was that it was a reference to the OJ thing, right?
Yes, because Goldust Well, it was kind of, yeah, because Goldust had gotten into his gold car and drove off, and Rowdy Piper chased him. And then they came back in the arena and fought through the arena. The funny part is, if you watch that, the pay-per-view itself took place at night, but their fights start during the middle of the day. Like, that's when you started realizing, oh, this was pre-recorded. Like, as a kid, you're like, oh, that was pre-recorded. Oh, now, okay, I see where they're going. But yeah, no, I remember that match. That was another, because that was when Piper pulled down Goldust's pants and he's wearing a thong, and Piper just kisses Goldust. Like, it was the craziest match I've ever seen.
And then just to have, did you guys hear the story behind that match? Like where they filmed it, got all bloodied, and then how they like had to work it to where it felt like they're brawling all the way to WrestleMania. Like that was another fun story about that match. I was probably say that's probably one of the more like one of the first cinematic matches that wrestling had. I want to say.
I mean, you could say it probably was.
Yeah, because it was.
That is crazy to think
It was.
about.
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that one. Because look at it now, like how many matches are pre-recorded now, and like the empty arena brawls that we've seen over the years. You know, you didn't see a whole lot of that. Well, I think you had a couple, like at least the empty arena brawls. You know, when everybody started either piling in or before the show started.
A few Bray Wyatt matches.
Right.
Like we're talking about cinematics before COVID, where they became popular.
Oh, yeah. I know Dustin, Dustin Sting versus was it who is it that was it Ricky Stark? I don't was it Ricky Starks and Hobbs that they faced in their cinematic match, or was it Ricky Starks and Cage?
It was Darby and Sting versus Cage and Starks.
Yes, it was Cage. Yeah, Cage and Starks. Before I get to our next question, I was going to ask y'all. Ethan asked, "Where's Connor at?" He will be on here in a few minutes. We are just waiting for. He's running a little bit late. So like I said, once he gets on, of course, we'll include him in our conversation. So yeah, stick around. It's gonna be a good show. Is there any matches that you guys would love to recommend to people that haven't seen it, or just recommend going back and watch? Because I know with Cody, Dustin, they've all had, and Dusty especially, they've all had really great matches. Of course, they've had some stinkers back in the day, but what for you is like one match that you would recommend for people to go back and watch?
I'll do one for each person. So the first one for me, for Dustin, is, and like it's kind of cheating because it involves Cody also, but obviously Dustin Rhodes versus Cody Rhodes at Double or Nothing 2019, because it is just such like a monumental match in the fact of, hey, WWE had these people for so long and they didn't do anything with them, and they didn't have them feud or anything like. Well, they had them feud, kind of, but it was Stardust and Goldust, so it wasn't that great. So yeah, I think that's definitely Dustin's best work. Cody's best work, it depends on what kind of version of Cody you want. If you want the new and improved, then I would probably say either Cody versus Dustin also, but also Cody versus Seth Rollins if you really want to feel that, hey, this is Dusty Rhodes' son going out there putting on a babyface performance, and when he has his whole pec just like blistered red, it's just wild to watch. And then for Dusty, I haven't seen that many Dusty Rhodes matches, but we touched earlier on his steel cage match with Tully Blanchard. I think he has a ton of matches against Ric Flair. I really love a lot of the promos Dusty has. He has a lot of memorable promos. For me, the just his all of them are good, but his like American Dream, when he's talking about hard times, it's just perfect. Hard Times is in my top 3 promos of all time, I would have to say.
For me,
it's Hard Times, baby.
Yeah. For me, I guess I'll start with Dustin. I mean, obviously, if anybody's not seen, I mean, we just talked about that WrestleMania match. By far is my favorite Goldust match. Just because it was the first cinematic and it was the craziest, backlot brawl into the arena I've ever seen. Him and Piper had great chemistry through that whole story. For Cody, I'm actually going to go back a little bit because I actually just watched a little bit of it earlier today while, just waiting to fill up on gas. But it was Defiant Wrestling. It was Cody versus Ricochet in a lights out match. Just the back and forth between them was just the technical wrestling in it was amazing. And it just shows you like Cody's independent work when he left WWE, and where he was kind of progressing. And then with Dusty, it's hard to pick because Dusty's had so many good matches. But I'm gonna go way, way back in the vault and say 1986 Dusty Rhodes versus Ric Flair in NWA. I mean, those two literally are legends in pro wrestling. They're icons in pro wrestling. They redefined the whole industry, and just those two had a match in NWA, and it was by far one of the best matches between both of them. I mean, it was both of them in their prime, and it was a really good one. And then as a bonus match for Dusty Rhodes, he had a coffin match with Ivan Koloff. Yes, he had a coffin match with Ivan Koloff. I believe it's on YouTube. Just look up Dusty Rhodes versus Ivan Koloff coffin match. It's on there. So those would probably be my two Dusty Rhodes matches. So
yeah, I thought of another one. If it's fine if I chime in again, there's a War Games match. Man, go right ahead. Yeah, War Games at NWA Great American Bash in I think it's '88. And I remember it's the Horsemen versus Dusty's team. I can't remember who else was on Dusty's team besides Lex Luger, but I remember that. I remember watching that match because when I started rewatching wrestling again in 2020, I didn't know what War Games was, and so I just searched War Games matches, and that was one of the ones I found. It was a fun match. I liked it.
I'm gonna have to go watch that one. I haven't seen that one.
I really like the Horsemen as a group, so.
I think if you want a really fun match, like looking at this is one of Dustin's like more of his recent matches, besides the Cody and Dustin match, because that one is probably my most passionate match that I love to watch. Like that one when it first happened, like I was bawling, I was crying at the end of that one. But if I had to say another good Dustin match, this one's kind of a little underrated in my opinion, just because it was fun. Was Dustin Rhodes versus Jake Hager. Just I can't remember. Was it Full Gear that was it Full Gear or was it All Out?
I think it was Full Gear. Yeah,
it was Full Gear. Yeah,
yeah. Because good technical match, and then you also had just a fun old fashioned spot of Dustin distracting Hager with kissing his wife. Just had some of that Goldust classic. Like I feel like with his new Dustin character, I feel like he's had a lot of he's that older, almost that old, he's that grizzled old vet that can still whip your ass in the ring and have a good time, but he's also going to bring back almost every personality that he's had in that ring. And then of course, have you guys ever watched? This is from What Culture. I'm trying to remember if it was just a What Culture show or if it was like a tournament. But it was Cody Rhodes versus Drew Galloway. Drew McIntyre before he went back to WWE.
I remember that.
That one, crazy hard hitting match. It was interesting that Cody had some really fun, like European matches too during that time frame when he's reinventing himself as the American Nightmare. You had Cody versus Marty Scurll. That one was another. That was the first time I heard Marty Scurll and heard him and seen him, and I was like, dang, this kid, another guy that Cody had good chemistry with. Same thing could be said for Kurt Angle when they had, the American Nightmare versus, the American, Olympian. That one was another good technical match. If you guys haven't seen it, I'd go back and watch it.
I did not know that Cody wrestled in WCPW. So I learned something new every day.
It was one of those. It was that time frame before AEW, of course, before AEW happened. But this is the time when I was transitioning away from WWE. When I started watching more of the independent scene, and like I said, I followed Cody. Once he left, it's kind of like I said, it might be a similar thing with a few other people when it comes to their favorite wrestlers. But once Cody left, I started watching his stuff from like New Japan. He has a great match against Juice Robinson. I was like, where was this Cody? Why couldn't they have this Cody, on the WWE? Like he really did a good job at reinventing himself. And the same thing can really be said about all three of the Rhodes. All of them are going to be Hall of Famers eventually. I can see Dustin and I can see Cody once he retires. I think they'll all three be in the Hall of Fame. But man, all three of those guys really have.
Dusty should already be in there with the four? Or no, he should already be in there.
Yeah, Dusty's already in the Hall of Fame, but like Cody and Dustin will be eventually for sure. I can see Dustin probably being in there probably in the next couple of years. I think he'll be in that class, or he'll be like the first to be inducted into the AEW Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think that's a given. He should be if he's not.
Right. Well, it looks like Connor's not here yet. So let's move on to the Aloha family. This one is probably the most, I think, massive, like when it comes to how many wrestlers WWE has signed of the family and their cousins and just everything. With Rocky Johnson and going up with The Rock, the Usos. You have isn't Tamina? Isn't she part of the family too?
Tamina is, yes. So
that's what I thought. And then who is the new Uso? Who's that? Who's their youngest cousin that's now part of the show?
Solo.
That's Solo.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. The Anoa'i family is in. I found the family. I'm looking at the family tree on Wikipedia.
Solo is the cousin of the Usos. So.
Oh, gotcha.
So he is the nephew of Rikishi.
It's crazy. Like, there's a lot of like linkages and extended family. Like, it's seriously like.
No, he is the brother. He's the youngest brother of
yeah, because
I think he's the youngest brother, and he's Rikishi's other, like the youngest son, I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so. Hey Adam, so have you seen any of like their training and how like and their ring that they used to train in, like especially like The Rock and like that hard hitting style? Like, have you seen any of those training videos?
I've not. I know the training was very coarse though. Like it was rough. Like it was hard hit. I mean, because you got to remember The Rock. I mean, the famous. I mean. Family members of that whole thing is Peter Maivia, obviously, the great Peter Maivia, and obviously Dwayne Johnson's dad, Rocky Johnson, one of the first African-American champions in pro wrestling in WWE, actually, back when it was like WWF. So I know they trained him very, very rigorously. I mean, that family is just always doing something, unfortunately, a few of them passed away way too young. You had Umaga, which was Edward Fato, and then Rosie or Jamal or Rosie, if that's what you which is Matthew and Noah, which is the brother of Roman Reigns. But I mean, other than all the family members that were big, but like not like strong, but like huge. A lot of them are very muscular, so the working out never ends for that family.
They are probably like said the most like hard hitting family of any like wrestling promotion. Looking at the Wild Samoans and especially Yokozuna with his frame, especially with that crazy leg drop. The one of my favorite matches with Yoko was Undertaker, and I'm like, how did he not hurt Undertaker? I know Undertaker's a big guy. Mark Calloway's a big, massive guy, but man, Yoko was on a whole nother level.
Yeah, no, Yokozuna. I mean, I grew up watching his matches in the '90s. I think he kind of got the shaft at I can't remember which WrestleMania was that, WrestleMania 7 or 8, where he beat Bret Hart and Hogan had to have his Hogan moment and beat Yokozuna. So. But I mean, Yokozuna had some solid matches. I mean, obviously his matches with Bret Hart, his matches with Hulk Hogan. I mean, his casket match. If you watch a casket match between him and Undertaker, that was actually one of my favorite matches back then with Yokozuna. Was that casket match with Undertaker, and that was a match that Yokozuna won.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yokozuna won the casket match. You know, that Undertaker lost a casket match. I mean, he's lost a few, but but yeah, no, Yokozuna was a big boy, and we were talking about it earlier about how funny we thought it was that Yokozuna, who's actually Samoan, plays a Japanese wrestler.
Yes.
Like that just shows you that Vince McMahon, he's like, all right, we're gonna take Yokozuna, we're gonna name him Yokozuna. He's gonna be a Japanese sumo wrestler. So that's my best Vince, by the way. That's my best Vince. But yeah, no, Yokozuna had some really solid matches. So
that's the thing, is like, I feel like he is not talked about enough, and I feel like, fortunately, due to his weight issues, I know there was a clip from the documentary with Bruce Pritchard that I watched where, he was eating constantly. Like, he was just packing on the pounds. And, man, like, I kind of feel, in a way, I kind of feel bad for the guy because, I know a lot of people talk about, drugs and alcohol addictions when it comes to wrestling, but, man, he literally had a food addiction. When he could eat, 5 buckets of fried chicken in one setting. Yeah. That's not too healthy.
Not healthy at all. A lot of the the Samoan family members had a lot of bad addictions. I'm pretty sure Edward Fato, who's Umaga or Jamal from 3 Minute Warning. I'm pretty sure he had a drug addiction. If I read it right, I know he died of a heart attack because of it. Well, I think it was a combination of both his weight and drugs.
Yeah.
Which sucks because, they exist. If anybody's watched Dark Side of the Ring or, even watched the trials of the steroid trial in pro wrestling, like, everybody knows there's some use of drugs, whether it's steroids, whether it's illicit drugs, they're being used, and especially painkillers. You look at athletes are addicted to painkillers. Those can kill you if you take them in large amounts. And with these guys putting their bodies on the line in a ring every day, they probably grow addiction to those, so, so there's a lot of, but then you look at some of the guys that just did it naturally in that family, Rocky Johnson, Dwayne's dad. He was just all natural, Peter Maivia, his Rock's grandfather, all natural. You look at the Rock worked out, man. Like, if you watch his early days, like, he's got some punch to him, but man, after a couple of years, he took it seriously. He's lifted, and he still does it. He still does it now for his movie roles, so the Rock is still jacked. And you look at people like Roman Reigns, the Usos, they're still jacked, so, and then someone like, Jacob Fatu, who's actually doing wonderful stuff in MLW. And he actually had the longest reign as champion in MLW. So even him, like, even he is in good ring shape too. So.
Wow. So Bloodline is literally everywhere. They're on the independent scene. And of course, they're the biggest story probably WWE has going on right now. Yeah,
pretty. It's a storyline in WWE, is that family. So it's supposed to culminate at WrestleMania, but who knows? Dwayne Johnson's a big movie star, so I'm sure he can't do anything. And I don't know. So,
Ethan brings up a good point. Jacob Fatu would be great in the Bloodline.
Yeah.
Do you think that would be a smart idea, or do you think that he kind of should do his own
thing? I think. I'm sure it's everyone's dream to be in the WWE, but with how Jacob is doing so successful on the independent scene, I think he's happy where he's at, and everything like that. I think. We talked to Tony yesterday about being on the road so much and being away from family and stuff like that, and if that affects you mentally, and I'm sure a lot of them, especially the Samoan family members that are still wrestling today. I mean, some of them are doing independent, some of them, majority of them are in WWE. But I'm sure, I'm sure that they're happy where they're at, all of them. So
Yeah, that's looking at it now, like there's so much drama with that bloodline, storytelling. It has such a good. No, I think that's the only thing that I've kind of stayed up on when it comes to WWE, and just watching how they're interacting with a lot of the people. Unfortunately, Reigns really hasn't had that many title defenses, which for me, I like something, and I think, but looking at it as a story perspective, that they've done in a while, things. I'm curious, how he's going to stir things up, especially now Sammy and him turning on Roman like he did with with Kevin. So I'm trying to add Connor to the chat.
Maybe that's why you're freezing up, Lane.
Oh, I can just let myself in and no one.
Dang it.
I can just let myself. Yeah, I can't be added.
Connor's like, hold on, I got a key. Give me a second.
Another while not directly in the family, I don't think I'm not an expert on the entire Anoa'i family, but Haku is also. I know The Rock calls him uncle. He calls him. Yeah, he made an Instagram post saying he calls him uncle and everything, and he considers him family. He's known him for a while, but I think that's why a lot of people were saying, yeah, he calls him Uncle Tonga. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people are saying, oh, put Tama Tonga and Tangaoa in the bloodline. It's like they're not blood, though. Like if you want to go in the sense that if you want to bring in both of them, put them with The Rock, that would make sense because The Rock is who considers them family. But I don't know. It's just kind of confusing. But
well, aren't they? They are family, though.
There we go.
They're not blood related.
Are you sure though? Because
I'm pretty positive because Haku is Tongan and the Anoa'i family is Samoan.
Okay, yeah.
But their families are very close in terms of they're not blood, but they treat each other like blood family.
Gotcha.
Because I just found an Instagram post of The Rock's, and it's Merry Christmas, Uncle Tonga, and it's him with a bunch of pictures of Haku. So.
Oh, okay.
But and yeah,
I don't know what happened there.
I don't think they're blood related, or maybe it's like a distant relative kind of thing. But
I think it's a distant relative. So
okay then, but it's not close enough to put in the immediate family trees.
Gotcha.
It's a general consensus, I think.
Gotcha.
But I am no expert. If I'm incorrect, please correct me.
I think you're all right. I mean, there's so many of them in that family. You kind of you lose touch, you lose base of who's in it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're always going to have these families where people are going to marry into it. You look at someone like Naomi is married to, Jimmy Uso, so now she's part of that family.
Mm-hmm.
So
I can't believe they never did anything with that. With bringing her into the bloodline on TV.
I mean,
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, she's still. I don't know what she's doing right now. If they're trying to bring her back in the fold, I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, it's looking at it. Is there any particular match that stands out to you guys with any of the members of Samoan family?
Is it cool if I say mine first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cena versus Umaga. That's a fun one for me. It's just fun.
Yeah, that one was oh gosh, like
Umaga was a
I felt
great
so
destroyer.
bad for Cena in that match. Yeah, I agree on that one for sure. What about you, Adam?
Oh, I mean, any of the old school Wild Samoan matches. Like I said, I remember the Wild Samoans as I was a kid growing up. So watching some of their matches was just always enjoyable. I mean, just their ring gear in general, like it just, you know, it just they had the pretty much what Umaga kind of like wore, but in different colors. You know, like he had the black trunks, but you know the
Jacob
Samoans
Fatu.
had like red trunk, like the red like tight like short trunk pants. So, but you know they fought like junglemen, you know. So I would say any of the Wild Samoan tag team matches. I would suggest anybody who's never watched the Wild Samoans tag team wrestling go watch a couple of matches.
Oh, for sure. What
Yeah.
about you, Connor?
I never thought of this. Jacob Fatu reminds me of Umaga. Like now that I think about it, he really does. Jacob Fatu is just not a Umaga weight a little bit more. He's a little bit more.
And he is
a little bit more
Umaga's
bigger.
nephew. That's why he makes you think
Yeah.
of Umaga, because Jacob Fatu is the nephew of Umaga.
Everyone
Fair enough.
makes you think of everybody in that family. There's a lot of matches you can go off of. Well, where do I begin? Umaga versus Jeff Hardy was very good. The Rock, you know, he's had so many classics with Stone Cold. Shawn
His match with Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I like the promo on SmackDown when they were doing their WrestleMania build up. I keep wanting to say Shawn Michaels and The Rock, but they never went against each other.
They never went against each other?
School with you. Mm-mm.
Wow.
That could be a dark side. That could literally be a Dark Side of the Ring episode if they wanted it to be.
Now that I think of it,
But
Connor's
I
right.
feel
I
like
don't think they ever went against each other. It's crazy.
Triple
Fair
H and The Rock did. But they can make a Dark Side of the Ring out of that if they wanted to. But Triple H may be cautious about them putting that out. But going with the unobvious, Rikishi, him against The Undertaker was very good. I can't remember what event that was, but it was a pretty good match. I remember Rikishi getting dumped off the Hell in a Cell into I don't know, what was it, grass or
It was hay.
I don't know. Hey,
It was a truck full of hay. That was the that was the 6-man Hell in a Cell match at Armageddon 2000. Undertaker and Umaga were battling on top of the cell, and Undertaker just grabbed him by the neck and kind of just shoved him off the top of the cell, and he crashed into like a farm truck bed of hay.
At least his landing was soft.
There's this one show I've always wanted to watch. It's Yokozuna's. I don't know if it was like a benefit show or, I think it was a benefit show or something that like. It was like an independent show, but WWE allowed like The Undertaker and Kane and Triple H was all there and they wrestled, and there was a lot of them there. I've always wanted to watch that show. If anyone's ever seen the Yokozuna documentary on Peacock,
we were just talking about that.
Yeah, I've always wanted to watch that show that they did, and I remember like. Yokozuna, like they sent him to UCLA because at that point they were just focused on his well-being. You know, he broke a lot of ring. He literally broke some boards on the ring, and eventually that causes you money. But like, nonetheless, like they sent him to UCLA to get tuned up and stuff, and they were saying that he got someone to sneak him in burgers one day to the to the UCLA uh, college, whatever it was, and they caught him. But a lot of
Really?
people, yeah. I remember the Usos saying that he would tell them to go do something, and then he'd give them $100 bills. Like,
Oh my
like,
gosh.
like, go clean up your room, and I'll give you some money. But it's like $100
Man, I
bills.
just
he'd
want a
give them.
burger. Just want a burger.
Just want a
Yeah,
burger. Want my burger.
yeah. There's a lot of matches you can go off with Samoans. Jacob
Just that
Fatu's
family in
one.
general. Yeah.
Yeah, Jacob Fatu could be a very big star. He's in MLW still. Yeah, let's comment. There you go. I don't know who MLW has. I know they have Alexander Hammerstone is his name. He's pretty good. Yeah, I like Jacob Fatu.
One that Life After Death Tube just posted. He really liked Rock versus Brock Lesnar.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, that was
that
a good
one was a great
one.
match.
There's SummerSlam one. I think The Rock got booed out of the arena, if I was not mistaken, because he was
Jeez.
leaving for Hollywood. I think he got booed out of the arena.
Was that
I could
before
be
or after
wrong, but
Scorpion King?
I know he wasn't gone at that point, but he was going to Hollywood, and
Yeah, this is pre Fast and the Furious and Tooth Fairy.
yeah,
know,
he went to.
I still love, both Rock and Cena 1 and 2. I know 1 was obviously a lot better, but I think 1 for me was probably the best one. Very controversial one here, but I like Triple H and Roman Reigns. I thought that was probably one of my favorite
one?
WrestleMania matches.
WrestleMania?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was a good
Is
one.
that 32?
I think it was 32. I think
Yeah.
it was.
And
It was
like, they had
the year
so
that
many
they
injuries.
made him run through the Rumble, and right before he could win the Rumble to win the championship back, Triple H takes him out.
Triple H.
I was not a huge
I
fan
love
of that
that.
match.
Because
I'm pretty sure Reigns was
Because
still a
Triple H-
champion in that Rumble match, though.
He was, and
He
then
was a
lost.
champ, and they put the
that-
title on the line.
yeah, like they only did that one
Yeah.
time before.
And that was
And,
in the 90s
I remember.
that they
Yeah,
did that.
I remember I did not want Roman to win that match, and then Triple H comes out. I wasn't expecting Triple H. I wanted AJ to win the whole thing, but he got eliminated, and Triple H takes out Roman, does the DX, and then at that point I thought Jon Moxley was going to win it, but anyone except Roman at that point I didn't want to win because that
Anyone
was the
but
trend
Roman.
then.
Yeah,
no.
It's funny how it's
And like, why weren't they doing this stuff with Roman back then? Like, people were booing him then. Now they're cheering him because he's a heel.
yeah,
Fickle.
they needed to turn him heel way earlier.
Like, they should have done that years ago.
well, like I said, it comes down to they just wanted another John Cena. Yeah, because they knew that John Cena was winding down his career at that time, and let's just keep booking Reigns to be world champion. So I think Seth Rollins had probably the better, at least stories after the Shield broke up until recent memory. I'm just, and of course we could do a whole podcast on how much I really, really hate the Authority storylines. But the only positive thing I had
I
to
got
say
out of
was
wrestling before then. I don't remember any of
We could
that
do-
because I got out of wrestling in 2011. When I got back, like the night I got out of wrestling was when Brock Lesnar returned, and I got back into wrestling when Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins was feuding. At that point in my life, I was getting into a lot of basketball stuff at that point.
That's fair.
Well,
Ethan,
Dunn versus
let's see,
Blue Brothers.
before he
Who was Dunn?
don't know.
Kevin Dunn? Pete Dunn?
Well done.
Is that the
Is this like a
Bludgeon
Memphis
Brothers?
match?
Blue Brothers?
Sorry.
I know the Bludgeon Brothers. Was it Luke Harper and
Yeah.
Eric Rowan?
I don't know.
I don't know.
And then
I actually do know this question. I watched a seminar, with Eugene, and the match that made the most money was The Rock and John Cena.
Yeah, I
WWE
could see
history.
that.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the best. I still think it was a pretty good build for the first one. You know,
Yeah, the first one,
it's
Oh yeah, the
Oh,
first
yeah,
one
like
lives
that-
up to the hype in my opinion. It was
Yeah.
a very
Yeah,
fun
that-
match.
You know, it was a year build, so I mean, of course, it got you
Yeah.
excited.
I
Yeah,
one of
like
the
they
best
had it 2
promo
years in
work
a
from
row.
both. Yeah,
They had 2 back-to-back years. I think it was the first one that made the most money because it was the first time ever. And at that point, The Rock hadn't wrestled in years. At that point,
Yeah, because it was his first match back was that Survivor Series, and then it was WrestleMania 28. He
Yeah.
wrestled Cena, and then he wrestled him again in 29. But that's when The Rock had some time where he came back and kind of had matches because again, he came back into Royal Rumble before 29 and beat CM Punk.
Yeah. True. Yeah. All right. So, our last family before we get into our honorable mentions round will be the Orton family. So, I know, like I said, I know there was. This one's probably the one I need to know more about. That's why I have a great panel in front of me.
what? Out of all matches, Bastion Booger versus Virgil was one of the biggest. Yeah.
Sure, let's go. Sure,
Best.
sure. Almost as bad as the Shockmaster, you know.
Hey, I like Outback Jack. He's my favorite job. Well, he wasn't necessarily a jobber. He was actually very good in the ring, but they treated him as a jobber. He was very good. I used to have a little cameo of Outback Jack. Do I still have it?
What?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I used to show it once a episode, but I like how
I always forget about him. I'm sorry, I forget about him.
Oh,
I forget
and,
about him.
and believe it or not, he's still alive. I thought he was dead, but I looked it up and he's still alive.
Oh, good. Glad he's still kicking. All right. So the Orton family. So I know we had Cowboy Bob Orton. Almost butchered his name there. Apparently, I speak in cursive. Cowboy Bob Orton. That is a tongue twister for some reason. And I know of Randy Orton. Didn't Randy's grandfather also wrestle under the Orton moniker?
Yep. Bob Orton was actually Bob Orton Jr. Bob Orton.
Oh, there was two.
Senior.
Okay.
Bob Orton was the original. Bob Orton, and then Bob Orton Jr. is Randy Orton's dad. He's the junior. Then
Right.
Bob Orton's son which was Randy Orton. So it's 3-generational. You don't ever hear about Bob Orton Sr. I looked him up a few hours ago, and very, very, very different age of wrestling he was in. 1943, 1945. Basically the Bruno Sammartino era. Then Bob Orton. I think Bob Orton Sr. worked with Vince. One was WWF. And then Bob Orton got hired, and then Randy Orton got hired. So maybe it'll be a 4th-generational star.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
WWF. I don't necessarily know his biggest moments. Bob Orton Sr. Very gold. It wasn't a golden age. It was
Like
I say old age. Like that's the old age
Old
of
age.
wrestling. I hate to say
prehistoric
it, but,
age.
Like that was the Bruno Sammartino days.
That's what that was. What, the 1950s or the 60s?
Both.
Both. Fair enough. Okay.
I mean, he basically wrestled in the 50s and 60s. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob Orton.
Dang.
Sr.
It's crazy. Like I said,
He looks
I
nothing
think-
like.
do you have a?
I'm pretty sure that Bob Orton Sr. was NWA, like the early days of NWA.
Okay.
I actually have
That
2
makes-
pictures. I
Yeah.
wanted.
Put 'em up.
Bob Orton Sr. died in 2006. And this is a rare photo right here with all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Oh, believe it or not, I'm just reading now that Bob Orton Sr. was a 2-time title holder of Florida version of NWA World Tag Team Championships with Eddie Graham.
Really, he was tagged. Really, with Eddie Graham?
Yeah, with Eddie Graham, the original Eddie Graham.
Huh. I had no idea. That's cool.
And if anybody doesn't know who Eddie Graham is, he was the president of NWA in the 70s.
Here's the one with all three of them. Randy
right.
Orton. In the middle is Bob Orton Sr. and the cowboy hat Bob Orton Jr.
Wow. Like, look at Randy with hair. Like, he looks so young in that
I was
picture.
gonna say that. That's really funny.
Did you guys know that? You guys know that Randy Orton was in the military for a little bit?
Yep. You want to tell that story, Connor?
Do you know? Do you know how he got out of there? Like, he could have literally been killed the way he did that. He did not want to be there, so he left. He left. Somehow he got out of there, and he left, and they tracked him down. And then I forget how they found him, but I remember hearing about that. I don't know how he get out of there without them noticing. And then they, like, I guess when you're under training, you can't leave like that. You know, I guess you have a lot of plagues and stuff you have to do. But he left.
They still get like weekend passes and stuff to go out, but
Like he wanted to not come back.
it's not fair.
Like, I'm gonna go back and watch that now, because I think he was the type of kid that was I don't know, a bully, I guess, and his dad sent him to I don't know how all that started, but I know that's what the documentary started off with. But he left. He decided one day he was gonna leave, and he came back to his dad's place, and then he said like, how did you get out? And yeah. I forget all that stuff. It's on the Randy Orton documentary.
Yeah, because that was probably my favorite pieces. You know, looking at it, you know, with the whole, you know, getting I know you got dishonorably discharged, and he literally thought he was going to prison. I don't know how. I can't remember explain why he didn't go to prison, but he literally, you know, because of leaving like that, deserting the military, like you literally, especially escaping like he did, like he.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's desertion. That's like you have to go into court and military court.
Yeah, I remember. I wonder how he got out of all that, how that all got cleared up. Because I know they, like, when they found him, he went back. Like, they didn't let him stay. He had to go back and do. He probably was in a lot of trouble. I bet. I wonder if they shaved his head. Is that true?
Yeah,
they do that in the military.
Yeah, they do. My dad served in the military, and the first things that you do when you go into boot camp is you get your head shaved, and you get all your vaccines like all at once. You go down line. Yeah, it's my dad was telling me, like, he's got a good little nice little scar.
Look at that!
Oh wow! Look at that!
Yeah, I actually have this photo.
Yeah, very, very cool. I'm glad that you. Thanks for bringing those pictures. That looks. It's just so cool to see like history like that. I wish we would get more like documentaries, like going back and looking at the 50s eras. I know that the Dark Side of the Ring has done a couple things, but I'd love to go back and see like one on the full Orton family. You know, that would be cool. So I always forget about Bob Sr.
Well, I know Randy. I'm not sure you know Randy Orton's. You know, he almost got fired quite a few times in WWE.
Isn't he like notoriously doing pranks on people that are not great pranks?
He did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he loves ribbing people.
At that, it was like 2004, 2005. He was still young coming up, and I remember he told Vince McMahon he could kiss his ass. At that point, Triple H was his mentor, and no one that his age has the guts to do that, and he did that. And then Randy Orton apologized and told Triple H that he's just young and dumb. And then Triple H says, well, when's the cutoff age for when you're not young and dumb? So we can get serious. It is really
Damn.
funny how all that happened. Apparently, I don't know if I just say it on here. It's like his personal life about Randy Orton.
It's, you can if you. I don't know. It's I guess depending
Well,
on
he's
the content of it. Like,
he's bipolar.
oh, okay, yeah, that's that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know,
But
which
he's had a lot
is
of
kind of interesting
incidents.
because with yeah,
I remember he
looking
got
at
he
it
got
like
injured.
yeah,
Like he got injured to begin with, and he was about to come back from his injury. 2 weeks before he was coming out, he would CM Punk mentioned this in their promo. He got on his motorcycle and got into an accident and caused his return to get delayed even further.
oh, jeez, talk about bad timing. You know,
Yeah,
but the bipolarness, it would explain a lot on his looking at his Viper character. And especially that time frame when he was like doing RKO's to Stephanie and Triple H and Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon. I think Linda McMahon, if my memory serves me correctly, he really was the most aggressive Orton in that family.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I did enjoy, because I need to go back and watch some more of like Cowboy Bob Orton's matches, but going back and watching that promo and that moment that they did when he was Legend Killer, when he had Undertaker in the casket like he did, and just to see how him and his father played off each other, and the whole dong, like when Undertaker was still a scary dude. It's weird that like I think Undertaker is tied to every bit of wrestling history at this point.
I forgot about this. Mr. Unknown, totally forgot about this. Randy Orton's uncle was a wrestler called Barry O. I forgot about him.
Barry O?
Barry O?
Sounds like a cereal brand.
Yeah, Barry O, I think.
Barry O. Okay.
He died, I believe, a year or two ago. Barry.
Okay, Barry O. Oh yeah, Barry Orton. He was a American professional wrestler and he was an actor. Professional. Let's see, son of professional wrestler Bob Orton.
Yeah, what was
brother of Bob Orton Jr.
Probably off the wall.
Probably like John Wayne
probably
movies.
He was bad guy number 3.
Yeah.
Oh, here's his acting career.
He was in a movie called People I Know. Whatever that is.
Time Collapse.
Time Collapse. Mission Idiot.
Yeah.
He was Dog Guy.
Okay. Honeymoon in Vegas. Okay.
He was in Killer's
Boxing
Mind.
Manager. Wrestler Country Boys. His name was Barry O in that one. Must be a
Electric Doorman in Killer's Mind.
I had no idea. And looking at his professional wrestling career, look at that. We're learning a whole bunch of new things on the All Elite Zone and Talking Elite tonight. We are learning so much. So apparently,
I know nothing about the Orton family. I apologize if I'm really quiet. It's literally just because I know like absolutely nothing about them.
Okay, so this is interesting. If anyone is on their Barry Wikipedia, apparently there's a lawsuit. There's a lawsuit, a sexual harassment lawsuit.
Oh,
Barry Orton, no.
92. Yeah, it was the Phil Donahue show. He appeared on it with superstar Billy Graham, Bruno Sammartino, and others to voice their concern about sexual harassment in the wrestling industry. And guess who else was on that show to defend himself? Vince McMahon.
That's ironic. That did not age well, did it?
Well, Barry O died. Barry O died March 19th, 2021. So,
oh, okay.
But he's not the warrior. I don't know where that went, but I know he was at some Comic-Cons and stuff. So I guess he didn't. But here's an interesting picture, I think. Bob Orton and Barry O. Kind of smaller.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's NWA, National Wrestling. Yeah. Well, no, it says All-Star, I believe. But that's a pretty older picture. I didn't know that. Thanks. Who put that? Mr. Unknown.
Mr. Unknown. Thank you for
Yeah.
watching, Mr. Unknown.
I feel like I knew it, but just didn't think of it. It just didn't come to mind
Yeah.
because I know the main three. It's on YouTube.
Cool.
Oh, is that the allegation thing? Is it on?
I'm
I'm gonna have to go watch
back
that.
and watch
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that'll give me a good laugh for the night. Sorry, Vince.
Well, apparently it was
that-
Barry O told the story about a guy who traveled the roads with him and tried to sexually assault him.
What?
Yeah.
So-
So, hold on. Let me see if I can. I was just reading it.
So did Barry O do anything, or did they do something to him?
No. So according to a story that Barry O told, he was traveling with a booker for a company. Terry Garvin was the guy's name, who was, yeah, okay. So traveling with him, and then on the drive, Garvin, I guess, repeatedly asked to perform some acts on Orton, and Orton refused repeatedly. And then he did not speak about it, but stories later broke out that Garvin, who went to work for WWF front office, sexually assaulted, harassing young ring boys while working for the WWF.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Yeah.
not fun.
So Barry O didn't. So
No.
No, Barry
So
O
he was-
didn't do it. He told a story about Terry Garvin.
Wow, that's
So
well.
Yeah,
At least that's
what
better
Mr.
that he
Unknown
didn't.
just mentioned.
At least that's better that he didn't.
Yeah.
But that's still bad. But that's still. I wonder if Terry Garvin's still alive. I doubt it. But let me see. Terry. Canadian
Probably not.
professional wrestler.
okay, he's the brother of.
Yeah, he died years ago. He died in 1998. He's been gone a while.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
for Vince McMahon to speak about it, Ross,
Yeah.
the more you know.
The more you know. You know, looking at it, I think Randy probably, it's crazy to see how much Randy has. I'm hoping he matured as a talent. But man,
Yeah.
just looking at his Legend Killer gimmick to being the Viper, man, I think he had probably one of the most, at least in my time of wrestling, he probably had one of the most standout careers in anybody in the WWE.
I think Randy Orton, he's a perfect person to look at throughout the years and see how much they've progressed as a person, as a wrestler.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
pretty much stayed consistent.
Yeah, if you go by the years, he's definitely matured a lot. Because right now, even though he's not active because due to injury, but he's like one of the head people now. Like he's John Cena basically. Like that's they're full time. Roman is the biggest money maker, but in the locker room, Randy Orton's he's the how I put it, he's the leader because he's been there about the longest because everyone else is gone. There was a ring announcer called Mel Phillips, like playing with ring board. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's.
I don't want
Oh my gosh. Dark side of the All Elite Zone.
Yeah. No.
I'm
No
surprised that-
kidding.
I'm surprised it hasn't been on the dark side of the ring yet.
Sure. Well, it's just
I
very
think it's
hard.
coming. They have,
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
never
they are
mind.
filming. They are
'cause now
filming
they're gonna-
season 4.
Because now they're going to show a scene where someone's playing with someone's. Yeah.
Yeah, they are
Sorry.
filming season 4 of
I'm
Dark
not
Side of the
oh.
Ring. So.
Mr.
I'm
Unknown
excited.
and everyone who's watching, give a race subscribe down below. We have lots of great content if you haven't already subscribed.
Yeah. Hope you've subscribed. We had a great interview with Tony Devlin. That was a really good interview and kind of insight on how on some of his beliefs with the fan base and really, really great road stories too.
Yeah.
I think as we start to wind down, we got here's some just honorable mentions that I think if it wasn't for a couple things, I think they would be on our list. But of course, you have the Flairs, you have Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair.
Well, I think you have some more questions
Charlotte.
that you put on the Orton thing.
Do I have more questions?
Well, not a lot. I have a few more stuff written down.
The questions with just double check and see. Here's one for you guys. What one? This is just. Did you guys like the which version of Randy Orton did you guys like better? Did you guys like the Legend Killer or the Viper? Like his character difference between those two. Like, which one for you guys was your favorite?
Neither. I liked his earlier young cockiness version of when he first joined Legacy, when he first joined Evolution. I liked his character. Was
that when they were shouting?
It was pre Legend Killer. It was basically his young cocky self. Like, I love that character.
Once he got drafted to SmackDown, he was on his own. He went full Legend Killer. I like both of them. The Legend Killer was on another level. And one of the I believe one of the questions was matches that I recommend for Randy Orton. But the whole
the
I don't want to skip over some things.
Oh, no, you're good.
Another one. In your opinion, in your opinion, what are the huge parts of their legacy? For Randy Orton, I can't really name a lot for Bob Orton and Jr., but Randy Orton, he became the youngest World Heavyweight Champion at that time, I believe, in WWE. I don't know if anyone's ever topped that, but at that time, he was the youngest wrestler to ever win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. He beat Triple H. No, he beat Chris Benoit. Yeah, he beat Chris Benoit for it. That's when Evolution turned on Randy Orton, I believe. Yeah, because isn't that one where Triple H had the thumbs up and thumbs down? Batista.
So Brock Lesnar is now. So he beat Randy Orton because he was 25 when he won the World Championship.
Brock Lesnar was.
Yeah, so Brock Lesnar is the youngest.
How old was Randy Orton?
That's what I'm getting pulled up here. Let's see,
I don't think Brock Lesnar won that title, the World Heavyweight.
I mean, Koloff was on there.
Well, while y'all bringing it 28. Up, if I had to choose the best Orton match, I'd probably say Cactus Jack versus Orton.
That was a good one.
I haven't seen.
No, you're right. Orton. Yeah, it's Orton. So good. My apologies, Aiden.
No, you're all good. That's all I had to say. Is I just really like Orton and Cactus Jack.
Yeah, that was a really good match. I remember the story. He basically Mick Foley basically left like a coward. That when I think he spit in his face and he just walked away. And then in the Royal Rumble, he came back and beat the hell out of Randy Orton when he made his return. I really liked their story. I believe that was the very first time Randy Orton went through thumbtacks. And I remember him telling the story where when he was at home, he never done it before, so he just got one thumbtack and just kind of leaned back to see how it feel. And he said, "But this is just one of them. He's I'm basically going through hundreds of them at one time." But the whole feud with Randy Orton and Undertaker was very good. I like I believe someone mentioned it earlier, the scene with him, the casket door was burning on fire, and then the door came down. The Undertaker. That was a very great moment. I believe that was at Survivor Series. I believe when
it was at No Mercy that the casket got burned, and Survivor Series Undertaker returned.
Yeah.
Because all their matches was very very good. And I believe Bob Orton was in his corner through that feud.
I would probably say Orton's match against Undertaker at WrestleMania 21 was actually a really good match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a good mashup of styles. But also, if you guys are looking for old school like Bob Orton Jr. matches, he has a match with Paul Orndorff from like the 80s, which is a really good match.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I'll have to go watch that one. For me, because Randy Orton was actually my first ever wrestling match I watched on TV. It was Randy Orton versus Christian in a steel cage. And like just I didn't know much of that story up to that point, but but watching just those two go at it, they had a crazy cool like steel cage match where Orton won it. And looking back on it now, like I talked to Christian about this match when I met him at WrestleCon, and that was one of his favorite storylines that he was a part of during that time frame. And he remembers that match, and it was probably one of his favorite steel cage matches that he was a part of.
Speaking of WrestleCon, P-Dog, I met Bob Orton before WrestleCon. Lewis Jr., yeah. I met Bob Orton at WrestleCon too. When WrestleCon was in New Orleans, I met him there. Everyone thought he was my dad that day.
Really?
Yeah, I was at his table for 30 minutes because I pre-ordered my ticket. They didn't have it, so I was sitting there waiting, and we just sat there talking to each other. So, and I said, "Yeah, he's my
that's
dad."
cool. Yeah, like a really good moment with him.
I also, this is off the subject, but it's a very cool moment because he's not living now. But X-Pac, I was at WrestleCon, I believe New Orleans. I was in line to meet X-Pac, but he was very, very late. I think WWE Access, WrestleMania Access needed him for a signing, so basically had to dip WrestleCon for a little bit and go to Access. But my leg was so tired, so I just sat down cross-legged, and then, like, the table next to him was Gene Okerlund. I was sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. Then me and Gene Okerlund just has a conversation while waiting. It's something I'll never forget. He basically, like, how Gene Okerlund would always go off on people on WCW, like that's the way he was acting. He said, where the hell is? He said, where's the hell is Sean Waltman? Don't tell me he's getting the NWO back together, something like that. He was very great. I'll always remember that conversation with him. At least an hour conversation with him.
That's incredible, man. I'm happy for you. I wish I had that connection like that with somebody. That's awesome.
Well, if X-Pac wasn't late, I would have never. That's one of the good things I like, that he was late. I got to
blessing in disguise, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then when he finally got there, X-Pac had his dog, and it kind of well, I'm not gonna get into that. It's just it probably disturbs someone's evening if I say it.
I'll take your word for it.
Did he put we'll talk about it somewhere he wasn't supposed to, or what do you?
Well, his dog kind of. Well, Gene Okerlund tables next to him, and he kind of had an accident, and Gene Okerlund's like, "What the hell? We got an accident on the floor."
Oh,
oh no!
Then I guess it was his daughter, his wife, his purse, and it kind of. Yeah.
All right. Well, now as we start to wind down, just briefly, some of the greatest families, like Ric Flair, him and Charlotte. Charlotte's had probably one of the better women reigns in WWE as we speak. Do you guys have a favorite Charlotte Flair match?
I believe it was the first one with Charlotte and Sasha Banks.
Which is the
I
one
believe
with Charlotte getting like bent in between like the
Oh,
whatever those things are in the stands.
yeah, that's the
Oh,
match
well,
I'm talking. Yeah, that's
yeah.
Yeah,
isn't that the one where Sasha Banks won the title? I believe.
I can't remember.
I think so.
I
Yeah.
think she won because they flip flopped the title at least 5 or 6 times. But yeah, I think it's the same match. Like that was a very good match, and then like it was on Raw too. That was when WWE was still somewhat decent. Yeah, I believe that's the match. But like they had a lot of matches against each other. But my favorite, yeah, is probably that match, Charlotte and Sasha Banks.
Yeah, that was a really good one. What about you,
Uh,
Adam? Do you have a favorite match with Charlotte?
I mean, I would probably have to go with that first triple threat match at the one WrestleMania where Lita kind of presented the new style of women's championship belt.
Yeah.
And it was, I believe it was Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky in that match.
Bailey.
Was it Bailey in that
That was
triple
Bailey.
threat?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I would say that was a good match because that's where you kind of saw Charlotte's style and stardom, especially that flip from the top rope to the outside. From a lot of people saw that as her defining moment of a WrestleMania. So yeah, I would probably go with that one, and I'd probably go back to saying best Ric Flair matches the one he had with Dusty. So.
Yeah, that's true. That was a good one. Looking at it now, there's a few names that I think we'll be talking about in the next couple of years that have that next generational superstar appeal. For me, like when I think now of a second generation, I'm looking at Brian Pillman Jr. He's literally a spin image of his dad, move for move. His hair, his look. And I'm hoping that AEW does something with him. Like I said, I think he could do a cool, crazy Pillman character. The whole, what was Pillman's nickname after Flying Brian?
The Madman or something? I don't know.
Loose Cannon
was
Loose
Cannon.
Yes,
Loose Cannon.
yes.
Yes, I'd love to see a Loose Cannon.
I think the Loose Cannon was really born when he pulled up that gun on Stone Cold.
Pillman's got a gun.
Yeah, you pull.
Love that segment. Just his eyes alone, just like.
I wonder what was he planning on doing if they didn't cut it off? Like what was he gonna do? Like actually blow his head off?
Like, it was planned, Connor. It's premeditated scene.
Like what was they gonna what was I gonna do? Like if they didn't pull the plug on it, like was he just?
It's dramatic TV. Dramatic TV.
You would just hear a gunshot and maybe see Stone Cold in the hospital with like a boot on his leg.
I'd like to know the plan behind, like if they didn't pull the plug on the thing, because I remember like once he pulled out the gun, they went like
nope,
like, and then they finally came back and you just heard holler and stuff. I wonder what was their plan. How was I even? Well, at that point they Monday Night Wars, so I could see why they pull out anything at that point.
Yeah,
but they definitely pulled it out. They definitely pulled it out.
Yeah, that was a fun one. P Dog, he just commented from our previous conversation about Flair. He liked Flair and Brie Bella from 2015 Fastlane. It's one of those things that
it was really,
yeah,
it was a really good match. I thought
gives that was when I was like really religious watching every pay-per-view. But it kind of made Brie kind of like give her own spotlight a little bit away from her sister. And like for me, I was never a huge fan of the Bella Twins, but I think Brie really showed that she could wrestle and not just eye candy.
Yeah, I think Brie Bella is actually the but I don't know because Nikki Bella was actually pretty good. Her match against Paige was really good. I can't remember what pay-per-view that was or when that happened. But they both can wrestle pretty decent when they but the one I most remember is Charlotte Flair versus Brie Bella. That was a pretty good match. I thought Brie Bella was actually going to win there for a minute.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I guess you can even put the Bella twins on here because aren't they Johnny Laurinaitis' stepkids? Or are they regular kids?
They're his stepdaughters.
The daughters, yeah.
and
They're his
is it John
stepdaughters.
Laurinaitis? And how is John Laurinaitis kin to Road Warrior Animal somehow?
What?
I believe, yeah,
Huh.
he's kin to Road Warrior Animal because
They're brothers.
I believe, yeah, because CM Punk mentioned that in their
Yeah.
feud, and he said,
Yeah,
like-
I keep forgetting Animal's real. His last name's Laurinaitis, but I can't remember his first name.
and then
Okay.
once upon a time, John Cena was involved in that family. That went sideways. No one need,
It's funny that
no one should propose at a wrestling event because it didn't work with John Cena, didn't work with
does not
Sammy.
work out.
It doesn't work. If you want your marriage to last, don't.
Yeah.
Not at a wrestling show.
No.
After the wrestling show
No.
is fine.
Every time it hasn't worked. Well, the only time it's worked is did Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth actually get married? Was that
They were married before?
Were they married beforehand? Because I thought they got married live on air. Like I thought it was like a legit.
No, it wasn't a
Because
legit thing.
did,
I-
I
did they
watched.
get di-
I'm pretty sure I watched a documentary fairly recently.
Oh,
I think they
gotcha.
got divorced. Did they not? I think they got.
They did also
divorced.
get divorced. Yes.
They also got divorced.
So I remember he died. Him and his wife. Well, whoever his wife at that time died in a car accident, I believe.
Yeah.
I didn't
And then-
know that
okay,
his wife at the time died. I thought it was just him.
It may have just been. I knew he had like a heart attack or something.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was like, kind of the last. Yeah, and smashed into
Who's
a
that?
tree. Macho Man.
Macho Man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. and Speaking of Macho Man, his brother passed away today.
Yeah, I saw.
Larry Poffo.
Rest
And
in
we were
peace.
just talking about him. I showed that video in the group chat.
That is insane.
Scary,
just
man.
How that happened? The universe was like,
Connor, you're
reminded
dead,
that
aren't
he
you?
exists. He's like, hey, what is he doing here?
I put that thing in there, and he was about to get his arm broken off. If who was it, Honky Tonk Man? But everyone was blaming him for it when he didn't do anything.
No. Yeah, that was a wild video.
I wish he would have broke his arm.
All right.
I'd like
Yeah, no,
to
you
see
don't go up and smack a man 4 times. You don't do that.
No.
like he literally pushed him to the ground, about to break his arm off.
Pain without love. Pain.
But
Ain't getting enough.
he was a genius. His
I think-
character was.
yeah.
I think.
I think like the
mean-
last yeah.
I was gonna say I was gonna give an honorable mention to the Von Erichs.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah, the Von Erichs like
anybody who knows anything about the Von Erichs, I mean, they were the Texas family of pro wrestling that had a tragic history of. I think the only last surviving member is Kevin. I think Kevin Von Erich is the only surviving member right now of his entire family.
Yeah,
But man,
they,
they had some great matches. I think it was there was a match. I want to say here I'm gonna look. It was a big match that a lot of people talk about. Oh, there's 2 Von Erichs. Okay, I thought there was only
because
one.
his boys are wrestling now.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
MLW.
Yeah.
the Von Erichs, they were WCCW, right? That's what it was called, World Class Championship Wrestling or something.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at it right now. Let's see.
Who is the last remaining the guy you thought?
Oh, okay, and Lacey Von Erich is still.
Okay.
Yeah, she's the daughter of Kerry Von Erich. Okay,
Kerry Von Erich still alive.
and then
Carrier
okay,
killed.
yeah, and then Kevin's son Marshall. Yeah.
Okay, because I believe one of the Von Erichs was live at the
Yeah.
MLW show, and they managed
Yeah.
the tag team in MLW.
Okay, so there's three. There's three of them, and they're
Yeah, so Kevin's still alive.
Carrie's daughter is the only from him, and then Kevin's two sons.
The last time I seen
Yeah.
wrestle, like they were pretty, still green, but they were, just breaking in. Like that was like 3 years ago. I seen them, and they went against the Lucha Bros in MLW. That was like 3 years ago. I'd like to watch some of their stuff and see. I believe like they'd be a legendary tag team to have in AEW at some point. But don't count MLW out because they got Jacob Fatu, the Von Erichs, Alexander Hammerstone.
Yeah, it's got a pretty good amount of roster. I need to go watch some of their shows. So I've heard they're a pretty decent independent show.
Yeah, I remember we had Alex Shelley on here and we asked him about that, and I don't know what his experience was like, but we asked him about MLW and he flat out said, "No, I'm never going back to." Yeah, I believe like Adam was here for that when Alex Shelley came on, and we asked him about MLW. And he was like, "No, I'm never going back. Like, I'm never going back." he didn't say why, but he made it clear that he was never going back. Whatever happened there.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for tonight's Talking Elite episode. I'd like to also thank Connor, Aiden, and Adam for, of course, joining me again this week. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to go and research and do a great lesson for all of us here to enjoy. Thank you guys so much again. We will be back tomorrow for our Rampage watch along. So come join us tomorrow at 9 Central for our watch along for Rampage. We'll also be back next Wednesday for a Dynamite Rampage, and of course every Thursday check us out with Talking Elite. We have different podcasts each week, different topics. So stay tuned to our socials. I will announce our topic for next week. So make sure you guys check out our socials on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. We are at All Elite Zone 1 on Twitter and All Elite Zone podcast on Facebook. Make sure you guys click the bell down below and subscribe to get notifications for every time we go live. We are trying to grow our show some, more and more each week. So make sure you guys share it with your friends. We're trying to get some more talent on our show as well. More interviews are coming up. Connor, do we have any confirmed interviews that we are doing in the next couple weeks?
Yeah, next Wednesday, another ROH. Well, he hasn't been on the new ROH, but he was an ROH star in the previous ROH. O'Shea Edwards. He was with Shane Taylor Promotions. If you want to know who Shane Taylor is, he was in that group.
Yeah.
Very underrated athlete that should be surprised he isn't talked about. Like he's on the level of Powerhouse Hobbs. I feel like level of talent. Yeah, he'll be on next Wednesday, and I believe what we're going to try to do, not since things got the comment where was Lady Frost? She wasn't able to make it due to the weather, her house being frosted.
The irony.
That's just how it happened. But I'm hoping to push. Still have O'Shea Edwards, but basically this whole entire month is going to be interviews. O'Shea Edwards next Wednesday, and then the Wednesday after that, Lady Frost. That's what I'm hoping, but for sure next week, O'Shea Edwards is going to be on.
Awesome.
And I'm still.
Like I said,
I will say I am still working on Ken Shamrock. That is a pain to get this working, but somehow, some way, we're going to get this going on here.
Awesome. Well, like I said, guys, we have some interviews coming up, so make sure you guys stay tuned to our social medias. Like I said, thank you again, Connor, Adam, and Aiden. You guys are the best, and we'll see you guys next week for Talking Elite, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. What's up?
Hold on, Lane. You got one more question. It's not my show. So
Nope.
I don't
Sorry,
have to answer it.
not going there. We've answered it many times. Sorry, David. No. We're closing out.
It's one time. I'm glad I'm not the host. So now
Yeah, no. That's why, like I said,
I'll-
that's why
I still
that's why
talk to Chris
pull up on
and
there. Sorry,
Brody.
bro.
I still talk to them. If you want to, that's in the past. It's been done.
Yeah, like I said, it's no, like I said, it's something that we're not going to talk on air with. So, all right, back to my closing. You guys, take care. Thank you guys so much for watching Talking Elite, and we will see you guys next week for Talking Elite, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night for our Rampage watch along. Take care, y'all.